Welcome. So happy you've joined me today. I'm super excited. I have a very special guest who you're going to meet in a moment. Our subject today, what we're going to dive into is talking about client retention, talking about how you can build your brand, and talking about how you can give value where value is appreciated. So please do write comments in the chat. Please let us know what your thoughts are. But before I go any further, I just want to bring on my lovely guest and welcome to the stage. Hi, Toby.
Hello.
Welcome. So Toby's in Washington State, and just to give a background, I thought it'd be wonderful to have a gentleman who lives in two different worlds. The world of barbering, also does do women's short hairstyles, because he's not scared to cut hair short. And he's also a educator at one of the Paul Mitchell schools in Washington that is co-owned by a fabulous gentleman, Lou Starita. And we have to love Lou for all that he does. And so welcome.
Thanks for having me, Vivian. I really appreciate you inviting me to your show.
Well, let's dive into the subject because you've had a lot of great experience. And I think your experience from being in the barbering world, crossing over into the school world, helping these wonderful young talented people be the best version of themselves in what is not necessarily the easiest time in business to enter the industry. I call it the winter economically. It's a time of hardship and challenges. It's not the summer where we cruise along. So we have to work harder and smarter. And one of the things that I'm realizing, and maybe you see this in your world, at one time, good was okay, right?
Yeah.
But now good is not good enough because the competition is so high. And now to be really doing something amazing, you have to be extraordinary. So my vocabulary in the past was, is it perfect? Which is the lowest standard of measuring because it's unachievable.
Yeah.
No wonder I get depressed, right? But when you say, what I'm going to do right now is going to be outstanding, it makes great, it makes good, it makes all of those other descriptives seem really mediocre. So let's dive into our subject because we've got a good subject here. Now, does this surprise you, Toby? Did you know that 70% of new clients don't return to the salon? The new guest experience, does that surprise you?
Yeah, it does surprise me because in the barbering industry, in the past, especially when you'd get a new customer, they usually would come to you because their barber had passed away. Men are the most loyal customers that there is. But on the cosmetology side of things, though, in the beauty salons, I can definitely see why plays a huge factor.
And what do you think the predominant situation is there?
I honestly think it has to do with just keeping up with the modern styles. I think a lot of people don't value education and continue to invest into themselves by pursuing advanced education and keeping up with the trends, being visionaries.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So 70% of women are wearing their hair long, and I think this is pretty much global. When you see clients coming into the cosmetology school, what would you say the percentage of long hair is that's walking across the threshold and walking out long?
It's a very high percentage. I know this last year, the number one haircut was beach waves, and it was a very modern look, and it was long, lengthy hair, just like what you see there. So I would say it's a very high percentage,
Yeah.
especially on the West Coast.
So let's talk about this. Are we brainwashed by the sea of long hair? And how has long hair changed the business model? Well, this is what's a bit sobering because obviously a long haired client does not come into the salon as frequently as someone with shorter hair. So when you think about it, when you had a client coming in with, say, hair like mine, in 2 months' time, this hair is going to need to be tidied up. But if my hair was long, an inch doesn't make very much of a difference. And usually ladies are frightened of going to the salon because they're scared that we're going to cut their hair too short. And so long hair clients do not come to the salon as frequently. And usually because their hair is long, condition's an issue, and they're seeking color that is more low maintenance and going to be more nurturing than destructive to their hair. And of course, we have the rebels out there that'll do anything, right? Right, Toby?
Yep.
So what we have here is there's a skill gap. Stylists losing confidence in this skill gap. And that's what I want to talk to you about before we dive into something even more interesting. So they're struggling to see beyond long hair. So obviously, if all you see is a particular look, it's hard to see anything different. Do you relate to that, Toby?
Yeah, because I would say the majority of people are trying to go with the trends, and especially with the influencers on social media, they'll ask for the same haircut, but just the different names, but they're asking for the same style. And the beach waves, effortless layers, that's been the look in 2024.
Yeah, and before as well. So clients saying, I want to keep my hair long is nothing new in our industry. But the thing is, there are definitely women out there that should wear their hair long, and there's definitely women out there
Mhm.
that really should not. So that's where the hairdresser comes in as this expert. Clients have not been educated on the best style to suit their face shape and their body type, which begs to question, I now, and I've never done this before, this is going to surprise you. I've generally worked on models who are average size 2, size 4, 5'10" and taller, slim beings. And when I obviously are working in certain parts of the world, there's going to be fuller figured ladies. There's going to
Mhm.
be petite ladies. There's going to be ladies that carry their weight in their hips according to culture, etc., and age, right? So I've only just recently been working on a few ladies with fuller figures, and I'm going, whoa, where before it wasn't such an issue as to the length of the hair because I had the ideal. Now I've been meeting less of the ideal. And the number of people overweight globally is the highest it's ever been. So if we don't stand our client up and look head to toe with elegance, I never look at the person, I always look at their reflection in the mirror. If we don't look at them with elegance and mindfulness, we could be putting the wrong length, the wrong shape around the shoulders, shortening the torso, widening the torso, whatever it may be, but it doesn't balance with their body type. So going back to our point here, educating the client not only on face shape but body type. And then the next thing is a decrease in hairdressers practicing short hairstyles. So I have heard many times, Toby, that women will say, I want to get my hair cut short. I think I'll go to the barber shop because my
Mm.
hairdresser doesn't know how to cut short hair. What's your response to that?
There's a lot of truth to that. Just this last week, I had a lady that just moved into our community. She came from Michigan and she went and got a haircut through a salon, and they just didn't go short enough. So she came into our barber program and specifically chose a barber because she knew that they were going to use clippers. So that just told me exactly what size of a haircut that she was going to go for.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So the big question is, as we always know, what are the service dollars that are leaving the salon versus keeping?
Mhm.
So we're talking about a skill gap here, and we're going to come across with a strategy in a moment how to solve that. Stylists losing confidence and skills. So the fear of the client freaking out, saying it's too short. I think there's always been a crisis. So I have a whole strategy of mapping a haircut, determining very important focal points. And I would say more than anything else, my big thing is I need to know my why before my how. Why would I cut the length here versus jaw? Why would I cut the length here versus jawline? I need to know why. And I can't just look at a head caped. I can look at the total person to make sure that there's balance and proportion there. And that's what makes that so very important. So when we look at the client freaking out, that comes back to the consultation because that's not been correctly planned and she doesn't understand the why before going into the how. Losing control during a shape. Very easy to just be so focused on the line between our fingers that we're holding to cut the hair and not stop enough to look at the total shape. So if you think about this, if I start looking here only, and I'm looking at connecting lines in my hairstyle, and I don't step back to look at the big shape, here is detail. I can see my future. I'm looking in my palm. But there is my big picture, right? That's the big picture. So that is very, very important part of this process. So that, I think, is a tragedy when we are getting so into the haircut that we are losing the shape, and it's cutting too short. Visualizing the end result, as I already mentioned, is about looking at the total person. So now let's look at this. So I want to know from you all who are watching, would any of these long hairstyles be of interest to you to master? And would any intimidate you? So let's kind of do a little journey through here. So Toby, which one of these hairstyles would you want to sort of say, well, Viv, I'd love to master that?
It would be number 3.
Number 3. Okay, number 3. And which one, if any, would intimidate you?
Number 4.
Number 4. Okay, all right, that's cool. That's cool. Right. Would any of these short hairstyles be of interest to master? So any of these short ones that you'd say, yeah, I really would like to nail that baby.
Number 8, for sure.
Number 8. Would any intimidate you?
No, I don't believe so. Yeah, actually, you know what? I take it back. Number 4.
Number 4. Yeah, that nice straight line. So Misty is saying number 3, and Nicole's saying I'd love to master all of them. And obviously the challenge we have today, my friends, is that, you know, a client brings in a photograph, and often we just see one angle and we just imagine what the back is like. But the truth of the matter is, we have to be able to understand a reference and then translate. Very difficult to copy a photograph, even of that person when they may have had that style a little while ago, right? So now, what is your current retention and referral? So I'd love to know in the chat, what is your current retention and what is your referral rate? Because ideally, if we get the consultation right, and unless the client is clearly moving out of town, our retention level, Toby, what do you think a really great hairdresser's retention level should be?
Oh, I would say it's in the 90 percentile.
Okay.
At least in the 90 percentile.
Okay, all right. And then what about referrals? Where do you think referrals should be? Because hairdressers are very often shy to actually ask about, is there anyone you'd like to refer to me? What do you feel we should be there?
Oh, you know, that's a tough one. I know there's a term I learned from some of my younger students. They call it gatekeeping. I don't know if you've heard this term, but gatekeeping means they purposely won't tell you where they went to buy a product or something because they don't want anybody else to have it. I don't know if that's a new thing, but so the new generation, they think a little different. So I hope that's what social media, you know, helps us out, because if someone is gatekeeping, then they can see that where they got the haircut.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's super, super interesting. Well,
yeah.
So this 70% decline in retention is obviously a huge concern. And this statistic is clearly impacted by 70% of clients wearing their hair long. So when you see that the new client coming to a new stylist, 70% are not returning, you have to say, whoa. And now 70% with longer hair, that means you've got to work harder at your consultation, and you're going to need more clients than somebody who's got short hair. So for example, what's your average turnaround with in your men's grooming? How often are you seeing your clients?
You know, I have a little bit of everything. I got once a week to once every 2 weeks to once a month. It just depends on their length. And a lot of it has to do with their professions too.
Okay. And so therefore, because you're seeing them so frequently, what is the number approximately of guests you have to keep you busy for the year?
You know, I would say about 200 to 400, because there is those rare guys that come in once every 4 to 6 months.
Okay. So then if we were to do the maths on this, you could see that if Toby's speaking about let's slice it down the middle, say 300. For somebody who's got people that are coming back so like once a year, you've got to have so many more clients coming into you, and that clearly is a huge concern. So how would you rate your consultation skills? And let me know in the chat, how many of you would rate your skills at a 1 or 2, 3, 5 being top?
Vivian, I'm going to tell you the truth. Ever since I went to New York and I got to watch how you do your consultations, I've learned so much that I would say mine would be a 5 out of 5 now. But prior to that, I would probably been like a 3.
Wow. Okay. So very often we get so into the hair of what we're going to do, we don't take that moment to pause and say why, and do our searching as we're going through here. So when we look at this, I want to just go over this whole conversation here. How to increase your retention and referrals. We're going to talk about tell, sell, and serve. And I want you to think about this for a moment. When I say I'm going to tell you something as a professional, there's nothing wrong in that, right? I'm going to tell you. When I sell to you, there's nothing wrong in that. I'm going to sell you a haircut. I'm going to sell you a service. I'm going to sell you a product. But what about when I serve? Very different, isn't it? So let's go underneath the hood of this, because what I want you to do as we go through this, I want you to write down 3 columns: tell, sell, serve. And as I describe them to you, if 10 is the very best and 0 is the worst, you can score yourself, right? Because we need to sell, we need to tell, and we do need to serve. But let's see if they're in balance or out of balance, and which should be the star out of this whole thing. And I think you can already tell where I'm going to go here, but let's just take a look at this. So how to increase your retentions and referrals. Selling, the push approach. Oh my gosh, Viv, business has been really bad. I've really got to up my prices. Oh my gosh, I've got to squeeze in a few little extra services there to make up for last week was really, really flat. Oh, I'm just going to push through this. This lady should have a glaze. She should have a conditioning treatment. I'm going to just sell it through. So our mindset is focused on the transaction and closing the deal, closing the sale. The priority is on achieving a sales target or convincing the client to make a purchase, which is fine if it's in the client's interest. But we all know what happens when we get the push approach. So the next thing is the experience of the client. The client may feel pressured, manipulated, as the interaction centers on what the hairdresser wants to achieve rather than the client's need. Outcome often leads to short-term gains and may damage trust and discourage repeat business or referrals. So let's just talk about that for a moment. I've pushed somebody, confession time. I've pushed somebody to have a hairstyle that I liked, that I was comfortable with, that I knew I could do in the time frame that I had, and I thought it was the right thing to do. So it suited me, not the client. Okay, Toby, tell me a time when you've been a naughty boy and you've done the push approach where the client's values have been maybe negated. What would it be for you?
I'd probably say it was early in my career when I was first starting off. So when I was first starting off, I think what happened, especially with barbers, you get a little bit of an ego. Specifically after the pandemic, you've got so many social media barbers, so they're just pushing products, and really it's just a lot of times you'll see the same haircut on everybody. So understanding face shapes and design, it's of the utmost importance.
Okay. So how many of you can relate to a time where you've been pushed by a salesperson and you don't really feel it's in your own best interest, it's in that person? So we have to be guarded around here in how we do upselling and how we think about the positioning of value dollars to time to end result, and being very careful of the push. Now, the push can be dressed up as a little bit of a manipulation. The push can be actually very persuasive. I've seen men use incredible charm with women and say, don't worry, I've got you covered. I'll take care of you. And they have done what they wanted to do because that's how they like their ladies to look.
Mhm.
And I've seen women be seduced into the idea and then afterwards go, what just happened? So there's many ways to dress up the push, and we all have that capacity, and we just have to manage it with a real gentleness. Otherwise we push people away rather than bring them toward us. Telling, the information approach. So how many of
Mhm.
you can relate to this? You want to be blowing your client's mind with information. So the mindset for us as a hairdresser is focused on sharing facts, features, details about the product or services, and the goal to educate the client. Fantastic. But when we push too much with the telling approach, we can overwhelm. The experience for the client may feel overwhelmed or disengaged if the information isn't tailored to their specific needs. Without addressing emotional or practical concerns, it can lack impact. Outcome: the client may leave the conversation better informed, but not necessarily motivated to say yes and buy. I have been guilty of, well, the heck, it's going to come through here. I'm going to round it through there. I'm going to layer it through here. It's going to be asymmetric. It's going to open your face. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. And I'm just so excited. And I'm telling her what I'm going to do. And I'm giving her way too much information, or the science of the product, getting all into the science and then what that deep conditioning treatment is going to do, and the eyes glaze over. Or I've been guilty of telling them about this hairstyle, telling them about this hairstyle. Oh, and another one. Oh, and another one. And I get so excited. They're like, information overload.
Mhm.
And I think that that is really, really tricky. So Nicole's saying, I think this is where I excel in my consultation. So tell me more,
Mhm.
Nicole. So how would that be for you, getting into the telling mode? What would that be for you, Toby?
You know, the telling for me, and specifically in barbering, it's getting too much into detail over the numbers. You know, we use guards and blades, so it's always a number one here, a two, a four. So a lot of times, what the customer, when they get overwhelmed, they'll tell you, "Well, you're the professional. You know what should look best on me."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So sometimes, like when you're watching the kids at school and they're learning their craft, do you see where they try and sell versus trying to tell? Do you see this as a personality trait to sometimes overcompensate, maybe a lack of confidence? Do you see that?
Yes, specifically when I first started teaching, there's some barbers that only are really good at one or two haircuts. So they don't want to show any vulnerability around their peers. So they'll stick to that same haircut regardless if the customer doesn't really want it. They'll just kind of go ahead and just do that haircut, even so it's not the appropriate haircut for that customer.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So ultimately, guys, my dear friends, this will be the ultimate one, clearly, serving. When you serve, you never are selling. And when you serve, you meet the threshold of what the client's tolerance is. Because you can talk the talk, but if the client doesn't value what you're saying, two words are too much. So serving is relationship driven approach. And clearly anyone who's been very, very successful in the craft understands that first, and it will be the lead. They understand that they need to obviously tell, and they know that they need to sell. But when you really serve and you really get into that and really embrace that, it's a totally different experience for you, for your client, and for the people who are around you. So the mindset is focused on the client's needs, challenges, aspirations. The stylist positions themselves as a guide. And I love that. The client's the hero. We are the guide. Really
Mhm.
important to always remember that, because that's how you can serve. Listening actively and offering solutions that genuinely add value. So that means I have to move me a little bit out of the way, because an opinion is an opinion. When I can come up with the facts and the science, and I can come across with the serving and the caring, it's a totally different conversation. Experience of the client feels understood, supported, and empowered. The focus shifts from the product to how it solves their problem or improves their life. When you touch a pain point, it's too long, it's growing out too quickly, I can't blow dry it, I feel fat, it makes me look old, whatever the problem may be. True creativity is the ability to solve that problem and meet the client where she lives and unpack that and then move forward. And that's how you improve the quality of someone's life. So the outcome, it builds trust, fosters loyalty, and often results in a long-term relationship and repeat business. The client sees the salesperson, which is us, because at this point we are moving into the selling of an idea, as a partner, not just a vendor, not just a hairdresser, but it really is a relationship. Now, when you are telling and selling, good luck trying to get a referral.
Mm-hmm.
But when you are serving, you will get referrals. You just have to ask. What would you say would be a very elegant way for a female stylist to say to another female, the client, I just want you for a little bit of a guy's perspective on this. If you were going to be coaching, how would you say, how would you suggest asking for the referrals? Client's happy, you just did my hair. I feel like you really served me. You didn't tell, you didn't sell, you served. What would you say?
Well, in that situation, I would definitely ask if they're happy with your service. Maybe tell them, hey, if I'd really appreciate it if you'd let your friends and family know of where you received your service, only because I'm trying to build up my clientele as of right now, and I feel like I've been advancing into I'm getting a return on my investment by investing into myself through education. So if you're happy with my service, maybe you can tell your friends and family members to come see my work.
Yes, absolutely. And Joseph's making some really great comments here. Listen and understand. Obviously, to our clients, it creates that beautiful relationship. Yeah, absolutely true. So when you're looking at this framework, sometimes we think we're the superstars, like we're the hairdresser. It's like, I've arrived, here I am, madam. And the more you climb up the ladder in hairdressing, it's easy to be put on a pedestal. It could be a pedestal through social media. It could be a pedestal from winning awards, whatever the pedestal may be. The danger as you get onto that pedestal is sitting there too long, because if we sit at the table of success too long, there's one thing that happens: standing still is actually moving backwards. So there's as much pressure when you're beginning your business to gain your skills. Confidence can only be built by practicing. And sometimes people won't do something because they lack the confidence. But you can only gain confidence by doing. And it's increments, it's baby steps to build that confidence. So you have to recognize, I'm going to go out there and I'm not going to be confident, right? But I'm going to take baby steps, and I'm going to recognize every single victory, and I'm going to build. I'm going to stack a victory on a victory on a victory on a victory, and I'm going to keep growing. Now, the person at the top of that ladder who is now on a pedestal and highly successful, where do they go next? Because the danger is burnout. And I've seen quite a few major names burn out at that level, where the pressure has been so great, and they kept saying, I've hit my peak. I don't know what else there is other than falling down. So that's a very, very important part of this. So when you're in the serving aspect, it never happens, because you're focused on serving and giving. And I think that is the root today of what we're talking about. And obviously we're now going to dive into another layer and go into that in and of itself. So when I'm looking at face shape, I can tell the client about her face shape, which is important. Now I can sell her on styles that will suit that face shape, and it's a thread of telling and selling. But at the end of the day, I need to shift over and find out whether she's ready for the ideas that I have. And that's where that serving comes in as a beautiful bow on the package. Sometimes people are serving like, yes, madam, what do you want? And it's almost like we're a puppet, and we've negated to educate the client, train the client, to show them that we have the skill. So all of this, as in all of life, it's a balance, it's a dance. And if you stay in one place too long, it gets to be too much. So when you overdo the serving, you can almost become subservient and start to give away your power, and start to make yourself small. And that's not what we're speaking about. It is to truly care, and it's to build a relationship that is a win-win so that you can give your very, very best. Have you seen this backfire in any way, Toby, from your experience working in men, working in ladies, where you can see how that's played out in your world?
Well, I'm from a small town, so one of the things that I've noticed in being from a small town, it's grown a lot. So the mentality of us, we call it the Walla Walla way. It's when someone comes in, you first ask how they're doing, how their family's doing, and then you go into business last. So you're definitely serving the whole time. But what I've noticed is now that we've had a lot of influx from out of towners, they're from big cities where they can do things differently because there's such high volume. So say somebody they could push a product on somebody, that person gets burnt. It's okay because there's high volume. In a small town, it's not like that. So I would say
Mm.
integrity is of the utmost importance.
Yeah, yeah. And I just love that you're from Walla Walla. Did I
Yep.
say it right?
Yeah, you did. Walla Walla, Washington.
Walla Walla. I just love that name. I mean, first of all, I think that Toby looks like one of the Musketeers, don't you? I think he just needs to ride away on a beautiful Lusitano horse with a black flowing mane and riding off to Walla Walla
Uh,
land.
yeah.
I just love it. I
Yeah.
love it. You're so cool. All right. So
Thank
then
you.
let's look at this, the face shape. The most important thing is balance, and human beings crave balance and proportion. It is in our DNA. So when you look at balance and you look at proportion, there's a science around the science of face shape and beauty. And opinions are just opinions. There's a science that withstands the passage of time. So I teach the science, because there can be a supermodel, a celebrity, or what, an influencer that comes to the world with a really square jawline, with very thick square eyebrows, and it becomes the cool thing. So everyone then thinks, oh, this is the new form of beauty. It's a new trend, right? But the classic proportion is always oval. So when you look at an oval face shape can wear anything. They can wear their hair long, short, around their face, tucked behind their ears. They can wear anything because the balance is perfection. So that's the first thing to always remember. So when you look at somebody, you think, oh my gosh, I have no idea what her face shape is. I have no idea what hairstyle to put on her. I know she would like to look a lot younger than she's looking right now. Let me see how I can create the illusion of oval. And that can be a good place to begin, because generally, when a client is referring to images that she's seen out in the big, wide social world, she's at the mercy of what she found. That doesn't mean what she found is the best, because there could be something on the next page, on the next scroll, that could be even better, and she didn't get to that. And the reality of how that will fit. And it's just like seeing clothing hanging, on a mannequin in a store. You can go, oh my gosh, that's beautiful. And then you go and put it on and you think, oh no, what was I thinking, right? There's something that happens in the translation. And so unfortunately, hair you can't try on and put it back again until some technology comes out and makes that different, which is another conversation. So just taking a few of the face shapes here, from our square, our oval, our round, and our triangle, which can sometimes be also referred to as a pear. A pear has volume in the lower part of the face and a narrow skull. So when we're looking at those and we're looking at what do we need to do, the first thing that I look at is with my square, I need to elongate the square just a teeny bit, and I need to lift the sides so that I take away from the box and I take away from the square horizontal line and I give more elongation. When I'm looking at my round, if I stretch my round, I create an oval. It's that simple. A round shape stretched is oval. So again, it could be a side parting with a stretch. It could be a lift in the fringe area, which gives a stretch. It's an elongation. And when I look at my pear or my triangle, I know I need to build volume from the temple to the mastoid and just build out that area there so that I actually fill a head shape that's flat and a face that's really wide. So that's how I go about that strategy. So then when I'm looking at my hairstyles and I'm going, right, which one would do so well? In number one, a symmetry is fantastic on a square because you diagonally cross the face shape, you elongate on that diagonal frame, and it really works nicely. On the round, giving a little bit of volume above the temple, asymmetric again, it could be a tuck behind the ear, hair coming across the forehead also breaks up the circle, and the goal is to stretch the round and make it oval. And then when you look at number three, when you put volume on the top of the head where the head lacks roundness, you fill, and therefore the top of the head becomes fuller, diminishing and slimming the jawline. And again, you have a little bit of a stretch to help the chin region. Does that make sense to you, Toby?
Yeah, I can definitely see it.
Okay. So when we look at it in the real world, you can see our redhead, who's number three. She's got the volume and the texture at the top of the head. She's got all that nice volume there. She's got a little bit of a fringe going on. In our number two, you can see the diagonal line, which really is very, very nice. And then, of course, our one, very often on a square face, a square bob can be really nice because square lines are very beautiful. They'd be very chiseled. So again, the asymmetry is really nice. And Joseph's saying science is truth and opens one's mind to explore. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Joseph. And Kitty's saying shout out to Walla Walla. Is there a song? There should be a song called Walla Walla Land. I just love that name. I want to live in Walla Walla.
Yeah, come visit.
I'm going to come and visit you. We're all going to come and visit. We'll get on the Walla Walla bus.
Come down.
It makes me feel like it's some like little, there's a toy factory there and there's pixies and elves and it's Walla Walla Land. Yeah. And everyone goes around smiling. How are you? Oh, I'm Walla Walla wonderful.
It's true. It's the friendliest town in America.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so when we look at these hairstyles, we look at our box again, and we look at number one. And here you can see what I actually did was I created the asymmetric style. And then look at number two. I have a round shape, and what I've done there is given a pinch at the top, and I have elongated my circle. And then it's amazing how many triangle and pear face shapes can actually wear a pixie as long as it has volume. Now, they've got to have one chin, not two or three. That does not work. It's called go to a plastic surgeon and get two of the chins removed. You know, when I was living I just came to New York, and a friend of mine, a very wonderful lady, said, I'm going to set you up for a date. I went, oh, really? No, I don't want that. She said, don't worry, he's rich, he's got his own private jet, all of this stuff. I said, I don't care about the money. He must be a nice person. He arrives at my doorstep, and his face goes into his neck, and there's no chin. And I look at him, and I just want to make the sound of a sea lion. Like, oh. And I thought, oh my God, what happened to his chin? It was like, there were like 5 of them that just melted into this neck. And I thought, he's a sea lion, right? Went out for breakfast. And he's like eating like a sea lion. Everything's like sliding down his throat. I was like, There's no swallowing. It just you would not have wanted to listen to my phone
man.
conversation with my friend. It was like, you set me up with this chinless wonder. He's got a jet. I don't care about the jet. He's got no chin.
Sheesh.
I know, really. But anyway, joking aside, this is how I look at the importance of balance and proportion. So let's talk about this. The average person spends 2 hours a day on social media. That's 30 days a year. If you could redirect even a portion of that time to learn new skills, how would that impact your career over the next year? 2025 is just around the corner. And for many of you, you want a better, brighter year. For many of you, you've grown a lot. And many of you are saying, yes, I want to do that. The decision you make today can determine the future, right? As to where you're going to go and what you're going to do. So when I'm working with people and I'm listening to their pain points, so our subject today is retention and referrals. And to bring clarity around telling, selling, serving, and to really look at what that is. I've just used one tiny example from my consultations that I use, which is about designing to face shape, because you can do the most perfect haircut, the most perfect color, the most perfect blow dry. But if it doesn't balance with the face, with the shoulders, with the body type, if it does not fit the personality, if it does not fit the lifestyle, and if you've made that person look really sexy and actually she'd like to look a little bit more buttoned up, or you've made her look a little bit tight and stiff in the styling and she'd just like to be a bit more boho and relaxed. I don't care how clever your skills are. You've done something beautiful on the wrong person. Would that be a reason to come back? No. Would that be a reason to give you a second chance? If she's really kind, maybe. And she's at the mercy of where else to go. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't. That could be the conversation. Is she going to recommend? No. Is she going to is she going to really be somebody that you want to be your advocate for what you're doing? No. So we have to take total ownership and be able to say, I'm going to catch myself every time I make an excuse. Well, it's the economy. Well, it's my clients won't let me. My clients won't want their hair long. My clients. It is excusing and blaming everything outside of self. Now, when you say, yeah, I recognize the reason a lot of ladies want their hair longer is because no one's educated them any differently. Nobody has taken the time to show them. The reason that the clients may not be prepared to spend money is because they've not been shown the value of what you're doing. Price is what you charge. Value is what you get. So when we accept the reasons, we can then say, I'm going to be really resourceful right now. Resourceful. So could you do a beautiful montage collection in the salon of showing gorgeous long hair that truly is facial framed and really styled, that really does need more maintenance? Could you show your clients a nice collection of mid-length hairstyles so they're not feeling naked, but they're starting to have something a little bit more groomed? Think about the language. Think about how creative your words are. You know, if I was going to say, you know, there's a gourmet steak for sale, and I described it as a gourmet, amazing, whatever. Or I could say, here, there's this steak and there's 25% off. Could be the same steak, the same price, but one sounds so much more interesting than the other. I don't know why I'm saying steak. I don't even eat meat, but it just came to my mind. I was trying to think of gourmet something, and that's pretty expensive usually, right? But does that make sense? Like the how it's described. You know, when you're looking at something relaxed and carefree and casual and soft versus something that's polished and groomed and very refined. Think about words have power and how you describe it. You could, I've done a test with people where I said, like, describe to me going to like your favorite restaurant. And they do these incredible description of this, sitting at the table by the fireside and candlelit and beautiful music. And, it's just like, I can't wait to go there. Versus, well, there's this nice restaurant down the road, they serve nice food. Well, take that narrative and describe your hairstyles, describe what you're doing with passion, with enthusiasm, and paint beautiful pictures that are based in truth and always based in serving. How does that sound? Right? Mm-hmm. So when I'm talking to hairdressers, very often they'll say to me, well, Viv, I want to train, but I just don't have time. And I will say to them, okay, you're spending 14 hours a week on social media. How is that building your brand? How is that building who you are as an artist? You're seeing tricks and no doubt some really amazing things. I get it. But what if you were to flip that around and spend 4 hours with me? Right? Watching a video, coming to one of my virtual live events, and I can coach and guide you. That's hugely different, right? Mm-hmm. Hugely, hugely different. And what I've found, for those of you who don't know who the heck I am, I've been in the industry for over 40 years. I've won many, many awards, not saying that to impress you, but rather to impress upon. I've been able to achieve some really lovely success. At this point, I've trained over 20,000 hairdressers. I've traveled the world. I've been able to help hairdressers move to a 6-figure and 7-figure income. I've been a coach and guide to many of them over the years. So it's been an amazing journey that I've been on. But what I've done is I've now designed a method that is very, very unique. What I have built is this massive library, and it's a huge library. I've had my online digital product for 20 years now. It was the first one in the space. And just to let you know, there are over 250,000 online educational sites in the world. That doesn't even include the free. There's a lot of information out there. If you've got a phone, you've got somewhere to store your videos, you can be a trainer, right? What I think is about results. That's the most important thing. So what I have is a video library, and what I have my stylists do is they watch a video before class, and then they come to a live class. And when they're in the live class, they are watching, oops, we go back. They are watching us working, where I'm showing you're doing. So we have this live coaching session, and there's nothing more powerful than seeing a hairstyle, watching a video of a hairstyle, showing up for the live, recreating it, and at the end of the day, we then put our images into our forum where it's photographed, and that way I can see what everyone's doing, I can tell where they're at, and I can then coach them. So I've developed this 1, 2, 3 system: watch video, show up for the live. So it's watch, do, feedback, watch, do, feedback. And generally when you're on social media, and this is not to slam social media, I understand the value of it, but you always have to measure results and measure your time. When you're on social media, there isn't somebody giving you the feedback. You're watching somebody else's life and not your own. When you are filmed in my space and you can go back and watch yourself, you're watching you. And you can then say, right, what do I need to do to improve my skills? And that makes that so much more exciting. So for any of you who are thinking, right, 2025 is just around the corner, what am I going to do? Check out my world. You can either come to my world and book a coaching call and talk to one of my team. You may even get me, you never know. Or you can come and watch one of these live events. So either of them are available to you. So that's very important to just share with you what we're doing differently. So one of the things that is a big issue, there's always been an issue, is when did you last raise your prices and how much would you like to increase your services? So what's been really fascinating, Toby, is we've had people go through our hair designer program and they've actually increased their prices anything from 20 to the maximum of 50% in 10 months. Amazing, right? Pretty amazing. So what would you like to do, guys, for 2025? So Sarah has been in the program. She's amazing. She increased her business by 60% while working less. She earns more and works less, all while having so much more fun behind her chair. I now work 24 hours a week and make 3 times more. And that was because she showed up, watched the videos, she showed up for the lives, I coached her. She posted her work in the forum, and just magic is occurring. Now she's just growing her business, and it's just remarkable what she's doing. So the thing is that if you don't believe in your value of your work, why should your clients? Confidence is your skill, it's your worth, it's the foundation of success, not just behind the chair, but in life itself. And I think that's such an important part of what we're speaking about today. I wanted to just tell you that very soon, in a couple of weeks, we're launching our app. It's our style consultation app. So much of what we've been talking about today is going to be made so much more easy for you because the app does the heavy lifting. And I just before I came on to do this live was looking at some of the new things they're doing. It's unbelievable. So if you want to join the wait list for this, you can, so that you can be the first ones to know, be part of our beta testing. And super, super exciting because it's just a whole new world, and it's very, very exciting. So you can join this. And what I want you to do too is to say a huge thank you to you for watching today. And please share and do the like and all of those cool things. And what I want to do is just summarize this. I came into this industry very shy, very nervous, and I used to hide in a corner because I couldn't bear anyone watching me. And one day the managing director at Vidal Sassoons had been watching me, and he said, "I want you to come to the school and teach." I went, "What?" I said, "No, I can't do that. I don't like anyone watching me work." He said, "No." He said, "I want you to do that because I think you've got something." It's like, no. So I was thrown into a school world as in the Vidal Sassoon Academy, and I was terrified because I'm teaching people that are twice my age, and I'm a baby in the business with like a year's experience as a job, right? 3 years training, but first year on the floor. And I'm teaching someone who's like twice my age, and I'm thinking, this is insane. And the only way I got through my fear was, I'm going to be a lifelong learner. I'm going to keep reinventing myself. I want to learn from the best. I want peers around me. I'm always looking, who knows more, who knows more, who knows more. I'm constantly looking for information. So right now, I am creating lookbooks. I've created an app, which is going to be face shape recognition. It does a whole consultation analysis for you. It's going to really serve your guests. So I'm doing that. I'm completely revamping my website, my courses, because it's like, I have to stay fresh. I have to stay modern. I have to stay relevant, because how can I serve if I'm not relevant to what's going on? So I want you to embrace that spirit today and say, whatever your year has been like this past year, let's do something different as we enter a new year. Let's shift a mindset and let's say, right, I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to let time be an excuse, money be excuse. I'm going to go for it. Because when you hang out with people who are passionate and have the right mindset, it's intoxicating. And it rubs off in the most beautiful way, because you, at the end of the day, are the result of the people you hang around with. So even though we are miles apart from each other in terms of the geography, I'm in New York, I don't know where all of you guys are, but it's about engaging and connecting. And the most amazing thing about the training that we're doing right now is, because I see so many of these amazing hairdressers every week, I can say, a baby change, a baby change, a baby change. And as they start to change, they're tiny steps, and it compounds, and it just becomes absolutely magical, because to break a habit is a lot of work. And to let go of a habit, you have to replace it and fill it with something else. And in doing that, it takes time. And that's what makes my work with these incredible hairdressers so successful. Lindsay's here. She's been doing incredible work. Nicole is part of our family, again, doing beautiful work. So what's your takeaway, Toby, from today?
Oh, well, my biggest takeaway, to really be honest with you, it's about the retention in the beauty industry, where 70% of the customers might not come back. Not only that, but the long hair as well. You know, if that trend continues, how do you retain customers and then the referrals as well? So that's an art of its own.
Yes, it is indeed. Well, I want to thank you so much for being with me today, my musketeer from Walla 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 Land.
Thanks for having me, Vivian.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Guys, thank you so much for being with us today. If you want more information on what we're doing, the best and easiest way is just go to vivianmckinder.com. You can see my name there, vivianmckinder.com, and we can help and serve you. Remember, sell, tell, and serve. What are you going to be doing? So I just hope that this has touched something where you can think, all right, I can actually go for it. Elizabeth's saying, walla, walla, walla. Okay, guys, thank you so much. And bye for now.